Greetings. My name is Haas Turlington of First Family's Research and Security of Jay, Oklahoma. I recently published a book regarding my false arrest by Delaware County Sheriff Harlan Moore. An entire chapter in the book is about outsider Winston Connor, who's better known as Backdoor Connor since his recent 10 felony indictments, one of which included soliciting prostitution, with some accusations being made that he would trade legal services for sex with prostitutes, and that he preferred the back entrance of the massage parlor, hence backdoor. Getting back to the purpose of this video, one of Winston's few remaining friends came on a post of mine recently. He basically accused me of lying about a couple things. Of course, it became obvious he hadn't read the book, because when I called him on it, he said, "Well, I'll be back tomorrow with some more information." So obviously he's going to go back and talk to Winston. Well, by that time, a friend of mine who's a lawyer sent me a message and said, he's best friends with Winston. They're the part of the lake people who are not used to being held accountable for their actions. Well, and I so much as said so, and then he came back and admitted that they were best friends and had been for decades. It turns out that Backdoor Connor represented this dentist in 2004, when this dentist and a bunch of his rich friends threw a party when the bar shut down on Monkey Island. And so they're at a lake house, and this dentist, along with 3 other men, wealthy men, decided to beat this drunk kid, ganged up on him, so bad he needed facial reconstruction. And I'll get to that in another video. Recently, one of Backdoor's few remaining friends came to his defense on some posts that I had made regarding my getting the charges dropped. This friend of his is a dentist, and he said that, well, it was this drug dealer who I shot. It was his criminal past that caught up with him. That was why they were dropped, not because of me. And you can understand why Winston would rather people believe that, because who's going to retain someone who can't get charges dismissed on a case like mine, especially when his client wouldn't have got him dismissed. So to answer that, it's a false premise to begin with. If I'm the one that took the prosecutor and showed him all of the guy's multiple felonies he's had in the past, for felony and for thievery and for drug dealing and multiple DWIs, wife beating, all kinds of charges, the longest rap sheet I've ever seen, I think. And I've been around this stuff my whole adult life. I'll put a link to a music video I made to the tune of his rap sheet at the end of this video. Also, I showed him that he'd been convicted for another felony after I shot him. And the reason all this is important is because he's impeachable as a witness. So if I had taken, which I did, and showed this to the prosecutor, I also showed it to Winston, and he did nothing with it. So if I had taken that to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor said, "Oh, well, you're right. Here you are. You're retired from the military, disabled veteran, and a respectable person, and this guy's a derelict who acts and talks like Charles Manson, and he's got multiple felonies. I can't put him on the stand because you'll impeach him, and the whole thing's a charade," which it was. And then he just said, "Okay, well, we'll drop it." Well, then I'm responsible for getting him dropped. I'm the one that showed him about the criminal past. Winston sure as hell didn't. So you might be wondering, well, then why did they dismiss charges? Well, in the motion to dismiss, DA Kenny Wright, remember this is after 5 years of my arrest later, victim has failed to maintain meaningful communication with the DA's office. Well, Kenny lied to the people who pay his salary and have a right to know why they dismissed the charges. They need to know what kind of cases Kenny's pursuing and why he's dropping the ones he drops. Okay, this type of lie is called lying by omission. It's deception. It's also known as exclusionary detailing. It takes place when information is left out in order to mislead or to further a misconception. Lying by omission includes the failure to correct pre-existing misconceptions. To the average citizen of Ottawa and Delaware County who elect their district attorneys and pay their salaries and the salaries of their prosecutors and sheriffs and all the other turds that are involved in my false arrest, they see this and it leads them to think that this violent, multiple felon, career criminal that I shot in self-defense is the victim. He's not the bad guy. They're just, for some unknown reason, he won't contact them, so they have to drop charges. The truth is that the DA's office hadn't heard from Daryl Philpott in years. According to court entries, during the more than 5 years that DA Country Kenny Wright spent unsuccessfully prosecuting me, he had Philpott subpoenaed at least 8 times, 7 of them unsuccessfully. The only subpoena successfully served on Philpott was by mail on 30 September 2015. Remember, Country Kenny motioned to dismiss my charges in July 2019. That's 3 years and 10 months later. So he did not dismiss because he couldn't get hold of Daryl Philpott, or he would have done it years prior. So the question remains, if Country Kenny Wright didn't drop my false charges for legal reasons, such as the absence of probable cause when considering the evidence dirty cop Melvin Gale Wells withheld, or considering the DA's only witness to the shooting was a violent career criminal who was impeachable on his many convictions of felonies and crimes of moral turpitude, or that the victim of the shooting wasn't making contact with the DA's office. Remember, he hadn't made contact with the DA's office for years prior to Country Kenny dropping charges. Then the question remains, just why did Country Kenny Wright drop my false charges? On May 12, 2019, over 5 years after my false arrest, I posted to Facebook that if my charges weren't dropped soon, that I would post, quote, true and accurate, documented and very embarrassing videos about the prosecution team. Less than 2 months later, Country Kenny dropped my case. So clearly, for whatever reason Country Kenny really dropped my false charges, he did so because of my actions. Just as clear is that Winston Backdoor Connor either wouldn't or couldn't get them dropped after being paid $10,000 to do so. Just like I said.
Well, we can't buy liquor, so we make speed. We can't buy beer, we grow weed. We do our best to avoid the law in the dry counties of Arkansas.